Alright, for this video I'm going to be talking about how I deal with burnout. I tried looking up a definition, but what I found seemed to be too long and it didn't describe things as well as I would have liked it to. It had causes of burnout listed rather than just directly explaining what burnout is, so I decided to not use that definition and instead to talk about what burnout looks like for me in my life and how it affects me. And so the reason I wanted to make this video is because here lately I've been dealing with a lot of stress and I have felt overworked, not only at my job, but with things that I've had to do at home as well. One of those things being having to come up with plans to make YouTube videos, and so I have experienced burnout as a result of being overwhelmed by a lot of things going on in my life, and as a result of that, having low energy and that making it difficult for me to continue doing the things that I need and or want to do. And so when I've been having to make myself, or in certain cases maybe not having to, but wanting to make myself do certain things anyways, despite me having low energy, it further contributes to my burnout getting worse. And so what is burnout? Well, I've had to deal with feelings of exhaustion, not only from work, but from things I've had to do at home as well. And I've had feelings of my energy being depleted, and by that I mean if my mind is overworked with having to figure things out, and when my mind is overwhelmed by a lot of stress, in combination with that, it results in me being low on energy, which makes it difficult for me to think clearly and also for me to be able to continue doing the things that I need and or want to do. And so when I get tired out and stressed out enough to where I get behind on things and I feel tired and no longer wanting to take part in the things that I have to do, at that point I consider it to be burnout. And if I stay that way for too long and it continues to get worse over a longer period of time, that is when I consider it to be depression. I've had to deal with that many times before throughout my life. It's been a on and off thing, and life keeps flickering the switch. Anyways, so what causes burnout? I already talked a little bit about that. When my mind is pushed to its limits and maybe even past my limits, then I end up getting so low on energy that it is difficult for me to be the me that I want to be. And so it is also at that point difficult for me to be able to do things as well as I'd like to be able to do them. It makes it to where I end up doing things slower and less efficient, and I forget things. And so that makes me get behind on things, and so then I have to try to play catch up. But if I try to play catch up without, or catch up, I guess you could say, not the condiment ketchup, but anyways, when I have to play catch up due to getting behind on task completions, I end up trying to gather up what energy I can to try to get caught up on task and hope that I can stay caught up. But what usually ends up happening is that I end up not having enough energy to get caught up and stay caught up. And so I get stuck in this cycle of burnout where I think I can do more than I actually can do when I have a lot of energy, and then I overdo it because I think when I have a lot of energy, oh, I should get all these things out of the way and not have to deal with them. Well, instead of me being able to get everything that I would like to be able to get done early on and out of the way so that I don't have to worry about them later, instead of me being able to do that, I often don't have enough energy to do that. So then I end up having to spread out things over a longer period of time so that I can have more consistent energy levels. And so I have to figure out what it would be a good idea to do at different times, and I end up making mistakes and fitting the wrong pieces of the puzzle in the wrong spots. I end up doing things at the wrong times, and then I tell myself that, oh, well, I needed to get that done eventually anyways, and it makes it hard for me to stick to priorities, because something that's a priority I may not have enough energy to do, or may think I don't have enough energy to do, and then my mind may make me avoid it by distracting me and making me pursue other things that shouldn't be as much of a priority. But then I have to learn that if I don't want things like that to happen as often, try to set aside certain times for doing the things that are of a greater priority to me, and then set aside a time to take breaks and do the tasks that are of less priority. That way I can help my mind not get overloaded by too much of the same task. And so as far as what has caused me specifically to experience burnout, I'm not sure what I have already said about that in this video, but I've gotten tired out from work. I've gotten stressed. I've gotten stressed out and tired out from both work and concerns that I've had about things outside of work, like personal finances and other curveballs that have randomly gotten thrown at me recently, and then I've had to deal with me not being able to get all the things done that I'd like to be able to get done in Warframe, as well as me not being able to make my YouTube videos at the times that I would like to be able to. I end up putting them off, usually more towards the end of the week rather than getting them out of the way early on in the week, and I'd like to get things done and out of the way at the beginning of the week rather than having to get them done in a hurry near the end of the week. And so, anyways, I've been stuck in this cycle of burnout that has turned into depression at different points in my life. And so I've had to think a lot about different ways that I could try to get out of that burnout, at least temporarily, to try and help myself not get too far into it in a negative way. And so I need to actually take a quick look at my notes, because I was speaking for a while without looking at my notes and I lost my place. So I want to go into more specifics about what burnout looks for me, or what it looks like in my life, using examples. And so sometimes I have low energy at work, so I end up working slower, and I end up sometimes getting confused and forgetting things and getting stuck for a little bit, not knowing what to do. And even though I may have done something a lot and logically, from my perspective, should be able to figure out and know what to do, sometimes I'm so tired that it is difficult for me to be able to use the preferred reasoning that I would like to be able to use. And so that makes things difficult for me at my job. At times, I get exhausted. Sometimes I end up being in pain because my body doesn't always seem to handle very well the work that I have to do. Sometimes my hands will hurt, sometimes it'll be my feet or whatever. Sometimes in more unusual circumstances, I'll get headaches and maybe even chest pain. And then at home, I end up having less patience and being more likely to get frustrated and angry when things are not going my way, due to not having enough energy to hold back that anger and frustration. And so I end up being more avoidant of people because I'm afraid of accidentally directing my anger towards them, and I don't want them to get the wrong idea, and I don't want them to get upset with me. So I end up being more avoidant of people, which unfortunately, from my experience, when I become avoidant of people because of not wanting to drag them down, they might perceive that as me abandoning them, unfortunately, and not everybody is able to understand what's actually happening if I try to explain it to them. So unfortunately, I've lost connections before as a result of people not liking that I didn't talk to them or hang out with them as often as they would have liked me to have been able to have done. And I lost my place again. I lost my train of thought again. I'm not really sure what point I was at in my notes, so I'm going to have to check that again. I'm trying not to do this, but it's difficult because I get on tangents really easily when I really get into talking about a subject. But in a way, it's not entirely a bad thing because I am interested in the subject a lot. And so I guess that's probably a good thing. Although hopefully I can figure out where I left off. This is actually how a lot of my conversations with people in real life tend to go. So, just clearing things up, it isn't just when I'm making a video that this happens. But anyways, I end up not feeling like doing the things I would normally like to do with burnout. And when I get stuck in that burnout for too long, it becomes depression and it gets even worse, and I lose interest in the things that I normally like to do for fun, and I end up feeling like I'm just going through the motions and like what I'm doing doesn't have much meaning to me and like it doesn't provide much stimulation or much satisfaction to me. And so I end up realizing, not only from my intrusive thoughts and my weird dreams, but from me noticing a connection between what I'm having to do and how it's making me feel, I end up noticing that I have things that are troubling my mind and that I need to think about them and try my best to understand them and organize those kinds of thoughts. And that when I take the time to do that, not only to give myself a break from the things that are draining too much of my energy, but also when I take the time to meditate on those kinds of thoughts, I can actually be able to help my mind get more closure about things and also help my mind get some more of the healing that it needs to be able to organize my thoughts and memories better, but also for me to be able to not only preserve energy, but actually be able to get more energy so that I can figure out what to do next and get things done again. However, I've noticed that if I just end up after the meditation just repeating the same mistakes and going about things the exact same way, then I end up experiencing that burnout again, and me having felt like I've been stuck in that cycle throughout my life so far. I've wondered, am I ever going to be able to break myself free from that cycle of burnout, then taking breaks, getting behind on stuff, meditating, then trying to catch up again, and then me just going back to experiencing burnout again and repeating the process over and over. I've wondered when I'm going to be able, or if I'm ever going to be able to break myself free from that cycle. And so I've thought, well, for one, me repeating the same mistakes that got me into that in the first place, me repeating those same mistakes has resulted in me getting stuck in this cycle of burnout. And so what I need to do is, when I need to do a lot within a short period of time in order to get things done, I need to not only be more specific with my to-do list about the ordering of things and the timing of things and what I'm actually going to specifically do. That way, if my mind is too overloaded for me to be able to think reasonably, then as long as I have my to-do list that I'm able to trust telling me what to do, then I should be able to follow it, get through it, and then if I have in my to-do list before any of that, if I have in my to-do list what I need to do after, which should be meditating as soon as possible, then hopefully I can repair my mind enough and give it enough of a rest break so that I can plan out what to do after that. And so now I'm talking about how I deal with burnout. I have done a terrible job at scheduling when I'm going to do meditations. And what I mean by meditations is me simply taking the time to block out distractions and try to think about whatever's on my mind and whatever's been troubling me, and I try to take the time to organize my thoughts and memories as peacefully as I can, and then I try to plan out what I want to do next, but also I try to predict what I think might happen, and I try to set goals. That stuff is what I mean by meditating. Meditating can be different for different people. For me, it's simply another word for reflecting, but what I count as meditating isn't just simple reflecting, it's more specific about what I'm reflecting about and what the purpose of me reflecting about it would be. And so I tend to not only want to block out distractions as best as I can, that way I don't have to deal with as much of my time being wasted due to me losing focus on an important task and switching to tasks that are of less priority to me. And so I end up trying to block out the distractions so that I can do better with prioritization, but I also try to keep a consistent and detailed enough to-do list. I also try to schedule things with as best timing as I can think of. I try to put a lot of things in my notes to help me with reflecting, similar to what I do with trying to make YouTube videos. I write down detailed notes, except for with reflecting, I type it in on my phone in my notes app. Except for with making videos, I usually write down in a notebook my plans for a YouTube video. Anyways, I what was I going to say next? I lost my train of thought again. Oh boy. Anyways, I need to check the time real quick. Okay, I have more time before the alarm goes off. I didn't want my video to be interrupted by an alarm going off on my phone, so that thought popped into my mind, and so I wanted to check the time just to make sure. Anyways, another way that I deal with burnout, besides meditation and detailed notes and trying to organize things better and block out distractions, I try to get enough sugar into my system because I have problems with low blood sugar occasionally, and if I don't spread out a little bit of sugar here and there in my diet throughout my days, it makes it harder for me to focus, and it makes it harder for me to be able to be as alert as I would like to be able to be. And also, I try to get certain things done and out of the way before I allow myself to take on certain tasks, because I'm afraid that I will not have enough time to get those certain things done if I put them off for later. So certain smaller tasks I prefer to get done before the big tasks. So for example, before making this video today, I did just about everything else that I wanted to be able to do today. So that way I could have already gotten it done and out of the way. But also, I was afraid that I would get distracted by those things and worry about them while making the video. And then I don't have much time left to make this video. I got about a couple of minutes, and I've got to go to work later. So I'm going to try to wrap this video up as quickly as I can. I can't think of any other ways that I deal with burnout, so I hope that that information that I already provided helps. And so, burnout leads to overthinking. I actually previously made a video about overthinking, but I've noticed that overthinking can drain my energy and lead to burnout, but overthinking can also happen as a result of my energy being too low from burnout. And also, overthinking can happen with burnout, but burnout can happen without overthinking happening. My goal is to try to not have to deal with overthinking as much while I'm experiencing burnout, so that I don't drain as much of my energy. Anyways, I had also made a video about patient burnout. That video was more specifically about burnout related to me having to make medical appointment phone calls, or me just being tired of medical appointments in general. This video is more about burnout in general in other areas of my life. And yeah, I hope that this video helped. And that's it for this video. Peace.